Good morning, welcome to Planet Mojo. Today I'm going to do an update on the Tiny House Designer, specifically on these Doghouse Dormers. I have not seen shed dormers on a tiny house yet, and I believe they're an awesome looking feature. Not only do they let in light, but light and air if you have the right kind of windows on them, but they add a classic look that you really don't see on a lot of tiny houses. I have this configured to 24 by 24, which is a tad smaller than our house, and I don't think that would be considered a tiny house. That's 575 or 576 square feet on the lower level. I don't have this set up to do the square footage upstairs yet, but this has a loft in it, so it has upstairs space as well. I worked on this week. It consists of the upper sidewalls and the upper floor structure. And the only reason I really did that is because this is a rafter assembly, and it would have been like floating above the first story, and it looked kind of dumb. This was really a difficult set of modeling and coding. I believe it took 3 full days to get that coded out. So I'm going to show you how that works as well. But first, let me concentrate on this dormer. In the end, I will have the capability of 4 dormers here. All of them are going to be based on this dormer, so now that this is done, it shouldn't be too hard to add the other 3. But for now, it's only capable of the 1. Alright, I think the first thing I'll do is lengthen this to the longest length it's capable of being, which is 28 feet. Okay, at 28 feet, if you had 2 on the dormer page here, or the dormer tab, I can have 2 dormers on here, but the second dormer isn't there yet, so obviously I need to leave it at 1. This is the right side, and that is based on the view cube here, which designates this as the right side. That's the only reason it's called that. So this is a dormer on the right side, a single dormer on the right side, and its position is based on spaces. So if you see the spacing between the rafters here, there's 1, 2, 3, and then the dormer. That's what this stands for. And this list will only show spaces that you can do. It's not going to give you a list up to 11 like this if there's only 3 spaces. So let's move this. It goes up to 11, so let's try 9. Now that was just a guess. I was hoping to get it centered on this loft back here, but obviously it's 10. And what it does is removes the rafter that's currently there. These are all parts, and they're part of a parts list. So it removes one rafter, and now you have different parts there which are actually cut. You got a partial rafter here, and you have a tail here. Open this up and show it to you. This is the roof with the rafter on it, or the dormer on it, excuse me. And if you look close, it sits on the roof sheathing. Let me open this up. Alright, this is the rafter assembly. What it does is replaces the collar tie as well. Because the normal collar tie would tie right into the rafter here, that rafter is gone, so it dies into the first available collar tie on the doghouse. It's all kind of complicated, I guess, but in the end, I will be able to get really nice drawings for this, and be able to print those up and build this. I could build this pretty damn easy. You know, each one of these rafters is just a long board with a bird's mouth cut, which is easy to do. This is just an angle, this is just an angle. So if you know what length it is, and you would have drawings that show you all that stuff, this would be pretty quick to do. If you just had somebody cutting all these rafters, stacking them up, and then you put it together, these would go together with gussets, which I don't have in here yet. This is the collar tie. Here's a normal collar tie. Here's that long one dying into the collar tie in the doghouse. And what that does is, this would be the roof, and your nice flat roof goes all the way out into here. You got a little, well, actually, your side roof would go along here, your main roof would go along here. Okay, back to the features. So a lot of time when you're doing models like this, you got to spend a lot of time bulletproofing it. For instance, this doghouse is way the hell towards the end on its longest length. So if I were to make the length of this model 16, both the loft and the doghouse dormer are beyond the model. They couldn't exist there. So I have to add to the code that once it's resized, it needs to look up available spaces and become one of those. And I'll show you that right now. Okay, looks kind of funny when it's happening, but all it did was it reevaluated where it needs to be. Everything did that. The studs, the dormer, all the parts in the dormer, these joists here, the size of the loft here had to reconfigure. So now our loft is, I think it's at its largest size because of the resize. This is the available sizes for the loft now. Anywhere from 5 spaces, which it is now. So if I go down to 4, now it is half of the space. But I have it set up so that when you choose loft, this is back loft, when you choose loft, you have up to 2/3 of the space is available. That's why the 5 is the upper limit. If I make this smaller, that number is going to get smaller. So I know this is about dormers, but let's change this to front loft once. Okay, so you would walk in under the loft, and like if the back of this place, if you had a house shaped like this, say you had a dormer like this on both sides back here, when you walked in, you could have like a bigger window in the back here facing a view, and you'd have all this light coming in from both sides. Or you can have the light up in like a bedroom up here, and you would do that just by the dormer spaces, put it at 2. It's always from the front. I think I'd want to go with 1. See, the whole idea is to make this fairly bulletproof, so when I put it online, people aren't going to be too confused by it, because I'm not going to be able to spend a lot of time holding people's hands with this. It has to be fairly self-explanatory, and I'll make things easier as I go. This is just for me to test it out. I'll add instructions and stuff when I put this online. And again, this will be free online at some point. But before that, if somebody is building a tiny house, I can get it to configure to whatever they're looking for, and I can get some drawings out of it pretty quick. I could help somebody out if they wanted. Okay, now another feature is with the width. This doghouse, at different widths, it cannot be this tall and it cannot be this long. And this, remember this collar tie that goes and dies in, it would die into a different one depending on width. So let's go to, well, let's go to the smallest width. This is actually the largest width. I just love how it does that. It looks like you stepped on it and then it all pops back into space. You can see at this size how tiny this window has to be. That's because the rafters are so much smaller. This is 12 feet by 16 feet. I guess this would be a true tiny house. We're at 192 square feet on the bottom, and I believe it's exactly, oh, it's close. We got 4 spaces for the loft. Yeah, it's exactly half that for the loft. And these sidewalls actually can go higher, but I'm not going to do that right now. But that is actually awesome looking. If you had either 2 dormers on one side here, or if you had another dormer on this side up in your bedroom there, it would give you cross ventilation. You could put a window in the front as well. Or actually I would put 2 windows, 2 skinny windows. Yeah, this would be an awesome little tiny house right here. So you can see that the capabilities on this are advancing by leaps and bounds. And again, I chose the Doghouse Dormer because it's a really classic look. And I searched and searched for a tiny house with Doghouse Dormers, and I couldn't find one. And maybe it's because it's difficult to build, but if you got a full set of drawings and some instructions, which I can just generically do for each type of doghouse, it's basically the same thing, but the pieces are different sizes. So I could actually do a video on it, which is what I probably would do. I'm hoping to build a little tiny house myself and use it for our guest quarters, and that's another reason why I wanted to get Doghouse Dormers on here, because I would like to build it this way. So let's try it at the other widths. We got 16 feet. Okay, that's pretty sweet too. 16 by 16. This is the size of Jason Crocker's place from the channel The Crockers. He's building a little off-grid place in Oklahoma that is 16 by 16. Yeah, that's pretty nice right there. A fairly roomy bedroom upstairs, and you wouldn't have to have this much cathedral. Yeah, I like that. And speaking of cathedral, where is that? You have back loft and front loft, which you've seen both, but you have full cathedral as well. Let's see what that looks like. Oh boy, there's a coding error there. This is supposed to be up higher, but the full cathedral removes the floor joist, the loft part, and just leaves the walls. I know what's going on. I had this set to 0 because I was testing rafters only. So this should be up about 3 feet. Just imagine this is up 3 feet. Let's see if that affects. The last option here is full floor. There, that's not broken. Yeah, it should be that way on the other one too. The only reason it's that way is because I was working on it right before I started this. And you can see that this bottom plate on these sidewalls is above these joists. That's the room where the deck would be. So this would be a full floor. And then what I'm going to do is make like a double header opening for stairways or whatever that you would be able to move around. You know, usually it would be in one of the back corners. It's not going to be across your door, but you may not have a door here. So the stair opening would be basically in the four corners, at least to start with. All right, let's go back to a back loft. And there you have it. And let's change the size on that a little bit. Oh, that's right here. We'll go down to 4. And I don't know if you've seen that or not, but this is an actual wall. There's 2 studs here, and it drops down where it drops off this deck here. It drops down and connects to the top plate. So this would actually go right into a drawing. And this is turned off as well. The visual is turned off. It's actually there, but it's just not visible. There's another top plate on here. See, you can see it in this one, but it's not visible in this. Oops. Now it's visible. Okay, back to this. So we're at 16 feet. What do we got? Nope, we're looking for width. 20 feet. That's the only one I didn't show. Yeah, I don't know if you could see that or not, but it was adding rafters. And you can see the roof deck goes right here, and these cut rafters, they're a complicated angle, but that will be on the drawings. They attach right to the roof deck. They would actually be nailed through the roof deck and into this double rafter right here. And we got the valley rafters in there. And again, all of this would be just on a parts list. Like, all of these would be named. Each part would be named rafter 1, 2, 3, 4, and the parts list would tell you how long it is and what the angle is on this. Then you just gotta pop it together. It's just a matter of nailing it or screwing it, however you're doing it. And these overhangs are adjustable. The window height is adjustable, but I don't have enough controls in there yet so that it's bulletproof. So right now it's a fixed size at each width, but at some point I'll make that adjustable within what's available. You know, there's only a certain amount of space available here. This is probably the max. I would allow it to get smaller than that. And I believe that's it for this update. Yeah, the floor was a big one. I wasn't expecting to do that right away. Kind of set me back on time for doing other things. I have to go cut some wood and a ton of other stuff on the homestead here. And I'm working on that addition on the homestead as well. So make sure you check in on that. I'll be doing an update on that soon as I get out there and do the work and film it. But that'll wrap it up for this. Yeah, that is really cool. I kind of like this 20-foot width. You know, it's just big enough to not be claustrophobic. And what is it's 320 square feet. So this would be 500 feet, 500 square feet roughly, with the second floor there. And at some point I will be adding, I don't know if I'll add it to the model or not, or if I'll just show how to make it, different types of stairways, like a ship's ladder, and different stairways with storage underneath it, and spiral staircases and stuff like that. But that'll come later. The biggest priority is to get the shells, the different types of shells done. And by shell, I mean the enclosure. All of these are open floor plans. So if you build any one of these, you would be able to get into it and live in it while you do the rest of the stuff, which is what we did on our house. We built the shell and then we put, the stuff on the inside in there later, the wiring, all that. Okay, this is running long, so I'm going to wrap it up. If you want to see further progress on this, I'm posting half of the videos over at Tiny House Designer until that channel takes off a little bit, and half of them here. So you really got to look at both places if you want to stay up to date. And I'm still looking for somebody who's planning on building this summer, and I'd kind of like to do a collaboration with somebody and get some designs to them and hopefully have them use it online and configure a house, but that's down the road a bit. So make sure you subscribe here and over at Tiny House Designer. And if you got any questions or comments, make sure you put them in the comment section below. I pretty much answer every one. And if you like the video and or share it, sharing it is really important. So please share it on Twitter or Facebook or wherever you can. It helps us out a lot. Thanks for watching and have a great day.